be ready. She tells me this at 7 o'clock at night, so now I have to pack, get ready for class that's at 8 a.m., and then as soon as class is over, come home and move. So the next day comes, I'm packed. The school comes and says, okay, we're taking you. I get into this guy's truck, break the center console. I broke every automobile in Costa Rica, I'll tell you about that. Every car I stepped into, I ripped a piece of plastic, a doorknob, a handle. I shattered an entire windshield of a bus. I did. I went big in Costa Rica. And so I said, okay, well, why do you think I had to move? I don't know this dorm room. It's 20 years older. Nobody's lived in there for 15 years. The first night I moved in, they gave me earplugs so that roaches wouldn't crawl in my ears because it hadn't been cleaned in so long. And so I said, why do you think I had to move? I mean, I know that it rained, but what's the real story? And all the other house moms did this Housewives of Costa Rica meeting every Wednesday, and I would be the topic of discussion. They would say, okay, can you go do Sean's laundry this week? Rosa, you bring him dinner. Lisa, you go take him down to the mall so he can get groceries. And I said, well, Spanish mamas, Costa Rica mamas, why do you think they did this to me? And they said, Sean, it's pretty simple. You look Nicaraguan. And I said, well, I'm not. What does that have to do with anything? And they said, in Costa Rica, we treat Nicaraguans like the U.S. treats people from Mexico. We assume that they come here to steal our jobs. And we assume that they come here to steal from us and to rob us and to cripple our economy. And so when you walk in with your cheekbones and your Spanish and your long hair, people automatically think you're from Nicaragua. You have the same complexion. And she said, I want you to meet my maid. And the maid came out, and we looked like we were cousins. And she said, you got kicked out because you look like me. They could have fixed that house in 2 days. And I thought, oh, surely that's not true. 2 weeks later, that house was fixed, and they moved 4 new American students in there, and I was stuck in the dorm. That was my experience. That was the time when I realized we need to treat our international friends better. We need to treat our friends and our neighbors better. Never in my life had I experienced discrimination here in the States. I mean, I'm from Kansas. My family, I just never in my life, and I thought that that was a U.S. issue. Oh, U.S. is the only one who's jacked up and would make those assumptions about people. Absolutely not. They said, your hair, and when you speak Spanish, by this time I was getting pretty good. When you speak Spanish at first, we don't know that you're from the U.S. You got a pretty good fake accent. So you got kicked out because you look like Nicaragua. Life-changing. So now that I'm back, it's my goal to really send this message of love who you are. Go out on that dance floor. Go out on that dance floor. Show them who you are. Show them what you got. And even when they continue to judge you and tell you, you can't stay here, you can't do this, this isn't possible. Sean, you're crazy. You haven't left home for longer than a week. You can go out there and you can do it. If I can climb up a mountain and go 15 blocks to get a gallon of milk every day, it can happen for you too. Now I think I'm going to open up for some questions. If anybody has written questions or has some comments or concerns, I think that we've reached our minute. Yeah.
You said you climbed up a mountain to get milk?
Yeah. My dorm room, after they moved me away from the school, it was about 3 blocks away. And unlike in the States, 3 blocks is basically down a mountain. The school was arched on a mountain. It was a school of architecture and design. So they had the best view from anywhere on that campus because you were on top of this peak. Well, the dorm room was at the bottom. And I thought, well, how am I going to get to school every day? They said, well, it's only 3 blocks. And I thought, oh, okay. But then once I realized it was 3 blocks uphill, it literally changed my life. Going to school in a drenched sweat every day after you shower, it makes you pretty grumpy. It makes you pretty bad. But that
so you walked?
Walked.
Every day.
Every day. In 2 months, I lost 25 pounds.
Right.
Right. Now, that's partly to the walking up the hill and partly to dancing till 6 a.m. at club.
And the free drink.
Yeah, and the free drinks. Okay, cranberry and vodka was flowing like milk and honey. It was a problem. But I thought, okay, never again will I circle the parking lot to get that handicap spot. That's a little obsessive. I will wait for an old lady to load her groceries just so I don't have to walk that 2 feet. That's not okay, and that's not happening anymore. Thank God.
Yeah. Wow.
No.
Wow. Talk about eye-opening.
Yeah, I was just thinking that it's like with a life awakening experience for you.
Oh, definitely. When you move out of your comfort zone and everything that you know and everything that you're familiar with, and the only person you have to call on is your higher power in which you worship, whoever that is for you, that humbles you. And that moves you to a new level of maturity, a new level of growth, a new level of self. Because I can't call mom, I can't call dad, so I gotta call on God, who I should have been calling on first.
While you was getting the drink on.
Right, while I was sipping my drink, I would call and say, Lord, don't let me fall down these stairs. But
At that point, you probably would have felt it anyway.
right. And so, walking up that hill every day, I thought, okay, this time I'm only going to take 2 breaks trying to get up this hill. And then by the end, okay, before I leave here, my goal is to be able to walk up that hill without stopping in between to get there, to the school.
How long did it take you?
It was about a 15-minute walk.
That's not bad.
Hill. Yeah, and the thing with the accessibility there was that the sidewalks were non-existent. And so they always said, don't walk in the streets, you'll get hit by a car. It was safer for me to walk in the street
Right.
rather than walking on a sidewalk with craters in it.
Yeah.
So it was very much so, a pretty scary experience. People were like, get out of the street. And I was like, unless you're going to walk with me to make sure I don't fall, this is safer for me. And at that point, Costa Rica and the neighborhood I was in was very safe. It was very nice. And so every morning, you begin to develop relationships and people say, hola, my love, how are you? And the maid would come out and bring a handkerchief and say, oh, you're doing better. I can tell your legs look strong today. And so it was just a very loving place. Everyone in the neighborhood had a key to everyone's home. And I thought, okay, that was how it was down south a long time ago.
Yeah, that's right.
And so it was just it was a loving environment. It was nurturing.
Except for you being Nicaraguan.
Except for me looking like a Nicaraguan.
I wonder if that's where they get Nicker from.
Did you have an exposure to the educational process or system down there?
Education is completely paid for if you are from Costa Rica. If you maintain a 2.5 GPA, you automatically get to go to college for free at the University of Costa Rica. And people there are extremely smart. The educational system is a lot more of meeting you where it's very informal. Tests are, let's just sit and have a conversation in history class instead of writing essays.
Nice.
Let's do a PowerPoint presentation on the difference between the political parties of Great Britain and the United States. And so it was much more accessible in the way people thought and the way people believed versus sticking to the read chapter so-and-so and memorize sections A through Z. And people took advantage of education. It was free. They went. And everyone there knew English. Never once did someone say, you need to go back to America and learn Spanish before you come here. And so many times we say, you need to learn English before you come to America. Don't come here unless you know what you're saying. And never once. People were dying to learn English and okay, if you teach me how to say, how can I help you? I'll teach you the entire grammar of Spanish. Teach me these 2 sentences and I'll teach you everything you need to know to pass your class. And so it was very